Today I am making the Elliot top by Cool Stitches. It is a really pretty feminine summer top that Nicole has graciously made available for free, or you may name your price. There are no printed instructions, but she has a YouTube tutorial which I will link below along with a link for the pattern. This top has a deep V-neck with gathered sleeves, gathers and ties in the front, and a cropped fit. So let's get sewing. The first step is to glue your pattern pieces together. They are numbered 1 through 15, and they are in rows of 5. I like to fold down the right side and line up the pattern pieces that way and then glue them down, but you can also tape them. And then you would just tape all of the rows together. This is what the pattern pieces look like when they're all put together. And then after you cut out your size, you will end up with 4 pattern pieces. So the sleeves, the front bodice, the back bodice, and then your ties and the channels that the ties go through. After you've washed and ironed your fabric, then you can lay down your pattern pieces. I trace mine out, but you don't have to do this. You can cut them out directly. One of the things that I did notice was that the sleeves did not come with notches to mark the front and back of the sleeve. One way to determine this is if you fold over the pattern piece, you can see that one edge falls below the other edge. And in my case, the front falls below the back. That front piece is the front of your sleeve, and the higher one is, which in my case is in the back, is the back of the sleeve. So what I do is I mark 2 notches for the back of the sleeve and 1 notch for the front of the sleeve. I will also mark the top of the sleeve so I know where to place that with the seam. Here are my markings for the channels and the ties. So the first step is to pin your darts. And then sew your darts. The next step is to pin your shoulder seams. And then sew those down. I finished my shoulder seams with my serger, but you can also finish that with a zigzag stitch. The next step is to sew gathering stitches on the sleeves. This will give you the nice puff sleeve look. She has marked 2 dots where you would start and finish your gathers, and so I did this for both sleeves. Pull on the threads to gather the sleeves. Next, pin your sleeves to the bodice. This is where those notches that we marked earlier come in handy. So you would know to match the single notch with the front bodice and the double notch with the back bodice. The mark at the very top shows where you would match that with the shoulder seam. And then sew the sleeves down. The next step is to sew the side seams together. So you would pin the front and back of the bodice and the 2 sides of the sleeves together. And then sew that down for both sides. I finished these with the serger as well, but you can use a zigzag stitch. The next step is to finish the bottom edge of your bodice and the neckline. I did this on my serger. I also finished the edges of my sleeves with the serger. Next, I folded down the front of the blouse and the neckline, and I ironed those down. I forgot to record the actual sewing of this part, but I did sew down the front neckline. The next step is to try on your top to determine the placement of the channels. I marked these with pins. There will be 2 channels, one going under the bust and another going along the waist. I used a French curve ruler to mark the top channel so that there was a smooth line from the center bust to the side seam. And then I pinned the channels down before sewing. I sewed the channels to the bodice close to both edges. The next step is to make the ties, which I found to be kind of difficult. The instructions say to sew the ties together with right sides together and then turn them inside out. But as you can see here, I had a lot of trouble turning them inside out, and I think I sewed too close to the seams and I ruined both ties. So instead, I decided to cut the ties a little bit bigger so I could do a double fold. I folded each of the sides lengthwise to the middle and then folded those down again so that it made almost what looks like a double fold bias tape, but these were not cut on the bias. And then I sewed the 2 sides down together. The next step, I ironed down the bottom hem and then I sewed that down in place. To make the sleeves, I measured out 2 inches and ironed that down all the way around. You need enough of a hem to create a channel for the elastic. I hemmed the sleeve close to the edge of the fabric. Remember, you have to leave a 2-inch opening to insert your elastic. I forgot to do this and had to rip that back open. To create the channel, you would sew another seam 1/2 inch parallel to the one you just sewed. And then you can just take a safety pin and insert your elastic. After you have both ends out, you can sew the elastic together and rearrange the gathers to your liking. The last step is to insert your ties into the channels. After trying it on again, I cut the ties to my desired length. You want it long enough to be able to make a bow. And then your top is done.